Hi, welcome to BS Garage. On this one, this whole front end section here, all of this and underneath it, it's all brand new. We fabricate everything up in order to fit a bunch of coolers more efficiently, a sway bar setup, how the bumper mounts up, the grill, everything. It looks the same, but it's completely different. Let's go. Need to get going on mounting all my coolers up. Obviously the first one will be the radiator, AC, and then I have the transmission, also the supercharger, and then a power steering little cooler. So I got 5 coolers I got to stack in there somehow and make that all fit. But I think the first step in order to make sure that I have enough room for all that is to kind of modify my front clip section here. I don't think I'm going to run inner fenders. You can see how holy and cut up they already are. So I don't think I'm going to be missing out on much by just taking them out and coming up with new mounts for everything else that needs to be mounted for. I also need to clearance this bottom shelf here, kind of like that, in order to get enough room for the coolers to sit in, because those front rails are going to come out to right about here-ish, I'm guessing. I have no idea, to be honest with you. But I think that's the first step. I'm going to take out inner fenders, strategically cut this guy up in order to make sure I have maximum clearance for all the coolers, put the thing back on, and then kind of mock up everything from there. Because I also have to build like a cross member that goes in between the 2 fenders, and then also that comes down to the frame rails, comes up, fender down, and holds the radiator in itself. So I'm going to get going on that, and that should give me enough of a plan or enough of a head start to kind of build off that for each one. All the screws and everything are actually coming apart really nice. Being 73 years old is pretty amazing. I think though, in order to take the inner fenders out, I think I have to detach the grill, because I think that they're sandwiched in between the grill and the fender in order to get them off. I've never had this apart before. I did my 51, but I don't remember exactly how I did it. So I'm just going bolt by bolt. As you can see, I got the front little lip tray off there, and I kind of got it marked out where the grill was. I'm just going a little bit further back than that and cut it out, and it will still be bolted in by like 6 bolts or something like that, which is still plenty for that little lip there. And all that does is just fill in between the bumper and the front grill itself. So I'm gonna keep working at it, but I think that this whole thing has to be completely disassembled piece by piece and then put back together without the inner fenders in the way. Inner fenders are out. I only had one that gave me a little bit of a problem. Ground it down, pulled it apart. Didn't give me an issue. Got the grill off there. And I got the fenders hung back on. Kind of got them gapped up, kind of where I like them, as good as it can be for like a patina car. But it's looking real good. I don't actually think that these things actually have to come back off again for the rest of the modifications that I have to do. So that's awesome. Of course, I say that now, but it's probably going to happen. But this just means I can move forward. So I think I'm going to attach the grill, because that's going to like put these where they need to be, because right now they're a little boingy. And then cut that guy up. And that'll give me where I can put the radiator. And I have to build like a new core support and a cross support. I have some 1-inch GOM that I want to do that out of. So it used to attach to right here. So I think I'm going to build some kind of plate that drops down or something like that welds to, that this bolts to, comes all the way across here. And I think the radiator is actually going to sit either behind it or in front of it. I guess we're going to figure that out later. And then some support pieces that actually come down and somehow bolt in right here, kind of come up, snake around. Don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but it just needs to happen in order to support this whole front end section here. So I'm going to get going on that, and I'll update you when I got something to update you with. Front grill's in, radiator is kind of just sitting in there. I'm using, you can't really see them on the bottom there, but these GM style rubber isolators on the bottom. Had to trim it out a little bit to fit the radiator itself better, and then I drilled some holes in order for this little nipple to fit right in through there. So this has a nice solid mount to it. I ended up cutting off both inlet and outlet, because top one's going to be 16 AN, the bottom one's going to be the proper size to fit up to the thermostat water neck there itself. But now I mean, obviously this isn't gonna work here, so I gotta build a support that comes across from here to here. And I'm gonna do that, I mean, here's my template, right? So it'll mirror on both sides. So I'll cut 2 of these out, and then on the end there, I've got some like 1-inch DOM here that I'm gonna build it out of. So once I get these plates made and bolted up, then I can make a measurement and then determine at what angle and how much length I need out of that tubing in order to cut out, and then I'll weld that in, and that will be a piece there, and then it will be linked up, and then I'll take more of that tubing, I'll make it kind of come down and attach to the frame down there, come up, so it'll be like it's new core support. And then everything else will kind of build up off of that. So I'm gonna get this knocked out, and then I'll show you that when it's done. Making progress. So I got those plates bolted up, and I got my bar made up, and it's just, I got some clamps in place, and then it's just kind of pressure fit in there because it had to be a little bit of an angle in order to make sure that fits in there correct, and the radiator will sit a little bit off like that. I'm gonna have to weld on some tabs or something, and then those isolators there, some kind of straps that'll come down or to hold that in place. But I'm gonna go ahead, I'm just gonna tack this guy in right here, because then after that, I gotta build my down bars and something off the frame there for them to land on. Got this main crossbar just tack welded in. Worked out actually pretty good. But now I gotta link it up to the frame itself to give me some both adjustability and something that actually links the front end of this car to the frame itself, because right now it's not. And that's an issue. So I'm gonna take this exact same template that I used to make these little tabs here that go off the fender, and I'm gonna use it, well, it'll go this way, to go off the frame there. And this way, it'll give me an ability to raise this and lower this, well, not really lower it, but raise it up if need be in order to adjust the little bit of adjustment that I need. I shouldn't. My goal is to just not have any adjustment whatsoever. Like, get this thing as level and square where it needs to be, build these bars up onto these plates, bolt this thing to the frame, and it should be good to go. And the bar itself, I want it to run right alongside the rad and then just come at a 45-degree angle until it lands on this guy and then burn it in. And the reason why I need the plate to be offset a little bit is because on this side, I got my lower radiator hose to worry about, so I got it made up. This is just like a stock GM truck lower radiator hose, but it lines up nicely with the lower. Obviously, I still got to put the proper size in the rad itself in order for it to meet up, but as you can see here, it just gives me enough of an offset for it to land on. So that's what I'm working on now, is building these guys up, and then I'm going to go ahead and bend that pipe up, which I'm also not sure how I'm gonna do because I don't have the die size for it, but I have a smaller die size. So I might risk running it. I don't know if it's gonna kink or not, but I think it should be all right. So that's what I'm gonna do. I mean, I just need a little bit of bend. Just work with me. It'll work with me. It'll be fine. We'll figure it out. So yeah, let me work on this, then I'll show you. Got the plates made up. I got this side bolted in using some stainless steel hardware, and then I'm using some 5/16 threaded inserts here into the frame. See them right there. These things come in handy in certain situations. So now I just got to bolt this guy in, and then we got to determine on how the down bars are going to go. Still got to figure that out. So it's time for me to bend up these down bars that will connect to the frame up to the crossbar piece that connects the 2 front fenders in there. I'm busting back out my handy dandy Woodward Fab tubing bender. This is what I use to bend up the cage inside there. I do have one small, I have 2 dies. These dies are super expensive, like $300 some odd, but I have the smallest size in here, but it is not the size that this pipe is, which kind of sucks. And I don't know if it's honestly gonna work or not, but I'm gonna give it a shot because we only need a slight angle in order to hit what we need it to hit. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna give this a shot. I'm gonna hope that it works, but if it doesn't, I'll let you know also. But we just need a little bit out of it. I'm really hoping that just a little bit out of it will go a long way. I'm not really doing any measuring. This is just all eyeball. It's just a straight shot with a little bit of a bend. I just got to make sure that both bends are similar, and I'll cut it to fit afterwards. So you want to know what happens when you use the wrong size die for the pipe that you use. You get a little bit of marring because I had nothing to lock into on the other end. Not a big deal. I'll smooth that all out. You won't even know it, but we have two similar bends here with plenty of length on each end in order to line it up with those plates and the top bar. So that's what I'm gonna work on now. It's getting these all fitted in there perfectly. Tack them in, and I'll show you that when that's all done. Got the passenger side down bar done. Look at that fitment! So I don't have any kind of like fancy tube notch or anything. So I'm literally sneaking up on it. It's nice and parallel with the radiator. Just making my mark. So this is the driver's side one. Like I said, I'm sneaking up on it with a flapper disc and die grinder, going until it fits. And where there was one, there is now two. So two, press fit in. Like these turned out awesome, to be completely honest with you. I'm really loving it. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna tack these up as in many places as I can. And then I'm gonna pull the whole thing out and I'll fully weld it up. But for now, I just need to get them tacked in place so that they stay, because this is unbelievable as to how well this turned out in my skill level. Like I didn't think I was honestly gonna be able to even do this, but I'm so happy with the results so far. It is looking so sweet. I'm not gonna lie, this is super exciting. Check that out. This is looking pretty sweet. If I do say so myself, I'm digging it a lot. Now what you guys don't know is that I have plans already in the work of what's gonna be hanging on each side here and everything that's gonna build off of it. But we're gonna get to that here in a minute. It's a process, we just gotta keep going. As you can see, I got the bar out, the main cross bar, core support thing, whatever we're calling this. I kind of want to give it some supports from here to here, because this just hangs off the frame in space. And that's not terribly thick, and I think that if we just put a little bit of a gusset right there, it'd really help out. I got these guys, I don't know what they're from, I don't know what I cut them off of, but they're super, super thick. I think I can just make it, you know, grind them down and just kind of somehow make them fit in here. And then I'm gonna finish weld all of this up because I know this is good. I'm gonna trim off the excess here and the excess here, just to kind of round it off to make it look like the tube and the plates are all one piece. And then I can put it back in, and then I'm gonna make plans to build off of that. Everything's up in the air though. I don't really know what the plan is moving forward. I kind of do, but you know, it's just playing with everything, making sure I have enough space to fit everything and just making it all work. So I'm gonna get to this, knock this all out, throw you in a time lapse, and then we'll continue after that. That was honestly a ton of fun. A good TIG practice, which I totally need, but I am super pleased with the results. I don't want to say stacking dimes, but that looks pretty dang good to me. Yeah, I like this a lot. So now, yeah, I'm going to trim these corners off, round them off to the bar itself. Same thing with the bottom on there. But this turned out awesome. Of course, I probably heat warped the crap out of it, and it's never going to bolt up again, but we'll find that out here in a minute. Should be all right. Yeah, let me trim these off, let this thing cool down, and then we'll bolt it back in. Check it out. New core support bolts up great. Minimal warpage, just a little bit of tweaking I had to do in order to line them up because the bolt holes are so precise. But yeah, this is awesome, something I can build off of. I'm still kind of waiting on parts, so I can't really move ahead with the radiator at the moment, but I do want to make my AC and my transmission one unit so that can just drop in as a thing. So I'm gonna, it comes with like brackets and stuff like that. This is just like one of those 4,000, 40,000 pressure drop transmission, whatever. I had one in the car before, worked well, but it had like a pinhole somewhere. I'm sure I could get it fixed, but these are cheap enough. I just got another one. I'll get it fixed for the next project. Not a big deal, but I need to make standoffs for this thing just ever so slightly. And then it comes with these brackets that I'm going to somehow make work from here to here. So I'm going to work on that, get this knocked out so that I can just take it in and out as a unit. And then we got to build something to house that in as well. I apologize, I'm jumping all over the place on this whole front end setup because it's just a lot of thinking, pre-planning, and making sure that I do it right. So yeah, I'm not filming the hours and hours of me just sitting here dumbfounded on trying to figure out what to do. But I did get one thing done. A little bit of an update for you. So this is like the hood latch setup, right? And then this rod piece that goes down and will attach to the cross member bar. And this houses the AC and the transmission cooler. Everything's kind of free floating. I got these rubber isolators in here that work out great. So one up top, two on bottom on these bars. Nothing's touching, nothing's hitting, but it's got plenty of you know, give in order to stand up to vibration and stuff like that. Let me go ahead and bolt this all up because I need to anyway to make sure clearances are good. Come to find out, they probably won't be, but they should be. And then we'll move forward from there. I need to make my transmission, the main mounts that I want to use. They actually just came in, similar to this little setup here, but much, much larger. There we go, bolted up. It's only held in by one bolt right now. So that's nice, and then it'll attach to the grill right there. So literally 2 bolts, and this whole assembly can come off. I mean, obviously after I undo the hoses and stuff like that. So that's actually really trick. I like that a lot. Plenty of clearance here. I don't know if you can see that or not, because the radiator's got to come out ever so slightly. Yeah, I'm liking this a lot. So next up, I got to do my radiator, my main radiator mount. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll show you when I have something substantial to show you. I just wasted so much time because this radiator welded up like complete poo. Like, it did not go well. Whatever they coat this, like, I ground off as much as I could, but still when I welded it up, it just did not go well. I hate it. I hated it. Struggle, because I had to weld up seam port right there. I welded up a 16A there. I welded up a new neck on the bottom there so that these two can meet up. And then also a drain, because this thing didn't have a drain, so I got a drain now down there. And then these brackets here, because this is what's the main piece that's holding it in. But yeah, I struggled welding this. Like, I did my practice runs and everything on my little practice Q squared things. Those, what do you even call them? Cards? I don't even know. But like, that went great. I was feeling confident until I tackled it on this thing, and it just was ungood all the way. Anyway, see this? This is a template. This is what the bracket is right here that is welded up to the core support. And then it's sitting on some isolators. These are like M10, right? Yeah, M10 isolators. And then that's bolted to the bottom of that. And then these bolt to that. So this is nice and sturdy, not going anywhere, but it still has a rubber isolation. So it's not actually mounted to the chassis in any way, shape, or form. It's floating in rubberness. So I think that's going to be pretty trick for that setup. Next up, though, I want to get my hoses knocked out. So the reason why I welded on a 16AN there is because I'm using auto plumb system. So that'll be AN fitting there. I got to get an AN fitting on there and then make my hose up there. But I'm going to do that. Well, it'll be next for you guys, but tomorrow, because it's like 10 o'clock on a Sunday right now, and I've had it. I've just had it with this thing. But we'll pick it up when I have a better attitude. Working on getting my tanks mounted up. So I got 2 similar tanks here, that one and that one. They were on the car before, but I'm trying to keep them very symmetrical. This one is for the Supercharger reservoir, and that one's for like a coolant overflow setup. And I wanted to mount them up front here. And I came up with just this little template guy here. I was gonna do like some dimple dies in there, but the material I made it out of was just a little too thick in order to do it for like my stupid socket dimple die thing that I kind of came up with. So I decided to forego it. It should be fine. There we go. I got them tacked in right now. You can kind of see what I'm going for. But let me bolt them up to that, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. There we go. That looks pretty sweet. Just got them loosely bolted up in there. Like I said, that one is for the Supercharger, and that one's for coolant overflow. But they're nice, neat. I can get to the cap easy, see it easy. I got hood clearance, and then I also just threw a tire on there to see how much clearance I have. But this is like drift spec. I don't even think that my rack can even turn that far. But when I get that hooked up, you know, we should have plenty of clearance there. I think the one that I'm getting is a press fit 90 degree 12 AN coming, but it'll be a lot. I think it's actually a little bit shorter than that. But anyway, like there's no way that that's even going to hit that. Because if we kind of turn this out a little bit too, like we have clearance for days in here. So really confident in that and the fitment of that. And I really dig that. So on to the next thing. Working on like the Supercharger cooler, air to water intercooler thing that goes right here. As you can see, I already got some tabs welded up. And then the same isolators that I used for the radiator itself. And then this is the unit that I'm going to be using. This is just like a generic thing I got on eBay. Air to water supercharger cooler thing. I think it was like 130 bucks. Not that expensive, but these tabs used to be right here and stuck out this way. I cut them off and I placed them where I wanted to, welded them up. Those welds don't look too bad at all. I'm really happy with the way those turned out. And now that will sit on there. Well, here, let's do it. If I can not drop it. Just like this. Cool. So yeah, that'll just bolt up and have plenty of gap in between the transcooler and that self. And I'm trying to stack them the way of like what's going to be the coolest, right? So this will usually see like whatever ambient air temperature is, maybe 5 or 10 degrees above it, plus how big this is. I think it's going to just maintain that all the time. So, you know, you're talking like 80, 90, 100 degrees. And then transcooler, this will help kind of keep the transcooler also cooler because it'll have cooler air coming through, I would think. I don't really know what ACs get to. I have no idea. But then, like, you know, you got this guy here, which will be around 200 all the time, 220. Typical LS stuff, even though I got a 160 thermostat in there, 165 thermostat. I'm hoping it'll be cooler than that, but that was just kind of my idea. But now my grill doesn't fit at all. Like there's a section in there that will not allow it to bolt up. So we got to clearance that out. Now that we got the majority of the coolers all like fitted up, kind of like where they're gonna live. Obviously I gotta make everything fit around it, starting with the grill. You can see she hitting right down there. So we're gonna have to trim this out ever so slightly, just that much in order for the grill to clear the supercharger intercooler there. And before you get all angry about me cutting up this grill, don't worry, it's not your car. This car has been cut up multiple times, so it'll be completely fine and you won't even know. So yeah, just a little section here. Probably that all the way down. Keep it even, keep it clean. Do like a little rubber edging or something, I think, along that edge, and it'll look nice. So yeah, I'm gonna get to that, make some marks, make some cuts, get this thing to fit. Ta-da! Got a couple bolts holding that thing in there. That's how much I cut out. Not terrible. And like, honestly, once all that's painted black back there, you'll never even be able to tell. But we got plenty of clearance now. Looks good. So next up, I got to do that little plate. I say a little plate, but it's huge. So the whole under skid plate that attaches to the grill and the body. And, you know, this guy is just massive. And you can see like where the grill kind of was before. So I'm just going to go back just a tiny bit from where the mark is on where the grill was. So it'll just bolt up here, a couple on the fender, come across here. So I'm just gonna cut this whole section out. We don't need it anymore. Plus it won't even fit in the car with that there. So that's gotta go away. Cut that huge chunk out of there. She fits up like she was before. So I got a couple, there's like 2 bolts that go down off the grill that hold it in place, and then 2 bolts in the fender itself on each side. And this thing is just like strong. It's a unit. Yeah, I like this. This is all coming together nicely. Talking about trying to fit 10 pounds of S in a 5-pound bag, but we're getting it done. Next thing, the bumper. So I debated this. Let me know what you guys think about this. So a custom way to kind of set these up is to actually flip them upside down to give them a more tucked look instead of a more raked out look. But I don't know if that's really the theme of this car. I just still want it to look completely original. I keep toying it with it in my head, but I love the frame horns. I love the little bumper frame horn things that this thing has. I think it just gives it that kind of more, I don't know, aggressive look, or like kind of like a cop car feel, if you will. So I think I'm just gonna leave it that way. I keep, again, going around in my head. Let me know what you guys think about that. But my way, new way to mount this up, because there used to be 2 bolts there, 2 bolts there that went into the frame that we chopped off. We don't have that anymore. These 2 right here actually slide in between our new frame rails, pretty dang close. So I'm gonna get rid of that bolt, cut it off there. That way it leaves this whole section gone and just leaves us with this guy here. And I think that if I just kind of clamp it up in place, see how wiggly it is, if I need to do extra bracing or not, and we're just gonna bolt it in place, like drill a couple new holes in those new little frame rails, bolt it up. I'm gonna get it as tight to this as I can and as low to this as I can. So my goal is to get that bumper like right on this lip, because before it was a little bit higher, but I kind of want it a little bit lower. I think that'll give it a little bit more of an aggressive look. I mean, it's maybe gonna be an inch, but I think that that's gonna help kind of separate it from, you know, the rest. With just getting it a little bit lower, because I also debated on sectioning it out, make just all this custom. This isn't a custom car. This is a made to look like what it was supposed to look like back then, just with, you know, that supercharged engine. So yeah, let me get to that. I keep rambling. Let me cut this all off. I'll clamp it in place and we'll kind of play with it. This is taking forever. It took me a couple of hours to get to this point, but I'm trying to mount up the bumper at the moment, and I want to do it in a little bit of a different way. Obviously I have to, because of, you know, not having the stock frame rails on there anymore. But I have these plates here, and now they're bolted up, and it took me forever to like measure this out and make sure that I have enough wiggle room for adjustment in there. Well, my goal is to get the bumper to just flow off of here, because before it sat about 1 inch higher than this itself, and then it had like this big thick rubber gasket in between there. But I want it tucked right up against this lip right here. So I got these guys bolted in, as you can see. When these are just chunks that I actually cut out of the stock brackets itself. And then I have the bumper itself here. And I got these guys here, a little bit welded up, but those should slide right in between here. I can mount it up. I can just clamp it all together. I can go ahead, I can tack weld this all together, pull it off, fully weld it in. It'll be exactly where I want it to be, in the frame rails, with the body, with that filler piece, with everything. Hopefully it all works out. But that's my goal. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna sandwich that in there. Had to get a little creative with some wood and some jacks, but I got it in the exact right place where I want it, where this just kind of rolls off the edge, because it fits up so nice to it. You know, it's nice and low. So like I said, I'm gonna guess like 1 inch lower than what it was from factory. And that's where the 2 pieces meet up. So I'm gonna put a couple of tacks on both sides here, and then unbolt all of this, clean this all up. I got plenty of adjustment in these bolt holes here in order to dial this in even more, but that's like directly in the center of it. And I think that once I get this all together, that edge right there, I'll put like a rubber edging along. That'll help kind of cushion the bumper itself, so you don't get any weird rattles or shakes or anything like that. So yeah, I'm gonna tack this up, fully weld it in, and that's pretty much a wrap on this front end. Little welding, cutting, grinding. That's kind of what I ended up with. Nothing crazy, but it will get the job done and hold the bumper right where I want it to be. So that's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna bolt it all up, put it back on. All bolted up. For this thing being from 1950, like, this is lining up really pretty good. It's a tiny bit higher on this side, like we got a little spring back. I might build some like L brackets off this bolt hole here, because I want to put those button head bolts back in. And this side lines up actually really nice. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this whole setup. All of it, everything that we did, so much work. And don't think that this was like a couple of days. This was 2 weeks, you know, a couple of weekends, and then also weeknights coming out here and working on this thing, but we got it all knocked out. Like I just said, I am super pleased with this setup so far. I think I'm far enough ahead now that I can blow this all apart, paint it, put it all back together. I might have to add a few little tabs here and there in order to make sure everything can bolt up to it. Like, I still need to add a power steering reservoir tank. I have one, kind of have an idea on how I want to mount it, but I don't think it's going to be mounted to this whole setup here. So like I said, I can blow this all apart, start painting stuff, put it all back together, and then this front end section is done. Next time we can plumb it or work on exhaust or something. But like, yeah, ton of work, but now it should have sufficient cooling in order to keep this thing in the temperatures like down, because when I go on power tour, the last thing I want is for this thing to overheat or have some kind of heating issues. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. If you guys made this far in the video, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.